We're now going to be looking at transformations with absolute values. Absolute value is almost like another transformation, and it's one that has to happen first. So you can see here, this is a very simple question in that there's no other transformations. Like, it still might be difficult, but there's no other transformations. And you compare that to here, where you still see the absolute value signs, but now you see some other transformations are happening to it as well. So we're going to get to this, but first let's go over how to do something like this. Now this does say the absolute value of f of x, and it equals this. So it's almost like saying the absolute value of y, meaning you always have to keep this positive. This always has to be positive. So maybe I'll write that down. Always has to be positive. Like, you can input any number you want, a positive or a negative number, but then once it spits it out, it's always going to be positive. And what that will look like, so what will it actually look like? It will always be above, I guess, or equal the x-axis. So here's the x-axis, and if it's always positive, an absolute value will make the y always positive. This is our y. Our y's can never be down here in the negatives. It's not possible. So if we're always positive, it means our drawing, our graph, will always have to stay up here. And then we can transform it after that. So, but initially it's always going to be up here. So what does that actually look like? So any points here, whoops, I've got this point and this point here. So why did I put these ones in red compared to this one, which is in black? And I did it in red because these are the ones that are below the x-axis, and I need, above the x-axis. So yeah, above the x-axis. So these points down here have to be brought all the way up. So look, it's down 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to bring it up 1, 2, 3. And here, this is 2 below the x-axis. So we take the absolute value of that, it goes up to here. This is 1 below the x-axis. We'll take the absolute value, and it's right there. But then it looks very strange, because how do you connect the dots? Because I've put 3 dots here, so do you get something like that? And, well, no. What we need to do is we need to keep these drawing, this part, because this part is above, and we need to reflect this up to here. We need to create an image that's identical but flipped up. So it's going to go up to here and down, and this one's going to go up to here. So it looks identical down here as it does up here. It's just been flipped. And then we end up getting this as our drawing. So basically any part that was below got then flipped up. That's the idea. So now you take a look at this and say we were going to do some transformations to it, and we're not. But say we would do some transformations, you have to ask yourself, what are all the points? What points do we need to transform? Remember how I said there's usually 4 to 6 points. So you see 1, 2, 3, 4. But there's now actually this point right here, and there's this point right here. So I actually have 6 points. So when we do our transformations, we're going to have to remember that. These points are created because this thing got flipped up, and it had like a joint right here, a little bit of a vertex, and so that point needs to get flipped. Maybe a vertice is the right word. I don't know. Anyways, this is done because all we had to do was graph it, and I highlighted my answer. There was no other transformations happening to it. But now we're going to have transformations for this. So I'm going to take my points, and that's 3 below, so I'll bring it up by 3. 2 below, so I'll bring it up by 2. And then 3 below, so I'll bring it up by 3. And then I want to create this mirror image. So there, and then I guess it goes back down to here. So this is my drawing. Looks terrible, but that's it. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had to add this joint here, this point, this vertice. I had to get added. So those are my 5 points. So I got to write down all 5 points, which I've done right there. And now what I need to do is find my rule. So just like all of our transformations before, we're going to have a rule. It's going to take any x and y point and transform it. Now on the inside, again, we got to ignore these absolute values because we've already dealt with that. That was our very first step. That's how we got these points to begin with. Notice here, all of those numbers are positive or 0 because we took the absolute value of the y. So all these y's need to be positive, and they are. So we've already dealt with that. So the only thing we have is the inside and the outside. So it says x plus 1. I'll do the opposite, x minus 1. And this is on the outside it says minus 2, so that'll affect the y exactly as a minus 2. So my new points can go here. And all of my x's are going to be dropped by 1. So I just subtracted 1 from all of those. Hopefully they're right. And then I got to subtract 2. So this will be a 1. That'll be a negative 2. 1, 0, 1. And I can actually graph those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Negative 5 and 1. Negative 4 and negative, negative 4 and negative 2. Negative 3 and 1. 1 and 0. And then 3 and 1. So I get this as my final answer. So you can see that I've actually got a similar shape to what I had highlighted, but now it's just been shifted down and shifted left. So the transformations for this, and it doesn't ask for this, but if you were to write down what the transformations were, if you look at the rule, I am subtracting 1 from the x, so that's going to be a shift. So a shift left because it's minus, and then in this one the y is minus, so it's going to be down. Shift down by 2. So those are my transformations that are happening. These are my new points. Oops, I was going to do a different color. And I have my new drawing, which I highlighted in blue. So what were the steps to this? If you take a look at the notes, you see that I've written step number 1 is that you first have to graph your new absolute value. That's the very first transformation, is the absolute value. And then after you've graphed it, you can write down your points. Now, what are the most likely point that you're going to miss is this one that we had to add, this vertice here. So that one was negative 3, 0. That was the one that most people will miss if you're going to miss any. And then after that, you got to transform it. So drawing your new absolute value is step number 1, and then doing the transformation step number 2. So we got some more questions to try, and we'll do those in the next video.